Now here's the larger board I started, and when I first put the spackling compound down, it was too wet. If you put it down and you touch it and it kind of pops up with your finger, like sticks to your finger and comes up like meringue or something, that's too wet. So you need to let it sit for a little while, and when it gets down to where you can touch it, it doesn't pop up, kind of like bread dough almost. So you can still press a pattern into it, but it's not sticky. So I started using this is another wood cutout piece. So I've wet that, and I've added some little, they're like gear designs around here. So let's add one right here. So I'm just pressing down to seat that into the mud and lifting, and that gives me a much cleaner look. Here I was still a little too wet. It was getting a little bit textured when I pulled out. So I've got several of these, and I'm going to switch now and do some different shapes. I know I wanted to use some of this thread spools. So here's a thread spool. This has like a little three design on it. I thought that might be good in the center of these because it's, again, kind of gear shaped. Will give us a little bit, push a little harder on that, some little dimension inside the center of these bigger gears. So you can see how that's popping out much more cleanly this time. And I've got another thread spool here. This one has even more little sections, kind of like slices of a pie. So that's and I should also say on this design, I had first sectioned it off with my ruler to make sort of a grid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my texture on this outer edge and make that more like a frame, and then the center I'm going to leave smooth and think about painting some type of little design in there. So I just want to keep repeating these little gear shapes someplace else. Again, don't forget to wet it each time. And I thought I'd maybe make this sort of a fall design. So I had one of these little shrinky dinks that I had made one time that's in the shape of a little ghost, and I thought I could try pressing that in to make some little ghost shapes. And I had one that's in the shape of a little pumpkin, so I thought we could do some little pumpkin shapes with him. But that part's still a little bit too juicy. I have to say the reason this batch of spackling compound got a little too wet was I had a great big container of it that we were using in our house to patch some walls, and it got a little dry, so I added some water, and I added too much water. So it's taken a while to get that smooth, dried back out again. I'm gonna probably have to just go get a new container of it. Smooth that one back out. One of these little ghosts or pumpkins here. I had this pin that was like a little jack-o'-lantern face. I don't know how that's going to go, but we'll give it a try. Oh, kind of made a cute little design. And then I had some little Halloween stamps, so I thought maybe I'd try some of those. Take this one that says trick or treat. And so I'm going to put it on this side and press it down. We'll wet that in. Got the little words pressed in there then. Maybe we'll try this little lizard. He's kind of a, make like a snake shape. Paws down there. Get one up here. Oh, I've got a whole creepy crawly one down that way. Oh, there's my favorite button. I love the shape that one makes. Doesn't mean anything for Halloween, but I just like these little concentric circles it makes. I'm just filling in some spots that I think need a little more accent. And I'm thinking I'll just paint like maybe a row of pumpkins here in the center. I think that's looking pretty good. I was thinking about on some of these like gear shapes, I didn't know if it would be possible to kind of make it like a big spider web. So I was going to draw some lines in these gears. Just wet your stylus every once in a while. And these will show up more when we paint an antique. what we're aiming for is relief areas so that when we paint this in and add our antiquing, that dark colors will go down into the little grooves of all these little impressions and make them stand out a lot more. Maybe on the ghost we want to do some little eyes and a little mouth. And we could do some little jack-o'-lantern faces in the pumpkins. And I'm really just trying to show you possibilities, you know. You're going to be doing your thing with what you have on hand. I'm just trying to show you how you can be a little creative in using things you have around the house. We did have one more spiderweb thing to add. And I'm not going to go all the way around that because I've got this little lizard coming along there. Maybe he's coming along to eat the spider. Okay, I think this one's got quite a bit of stuff decorating it. And again, if you want to sign your piece, just use a stylus down in the corner where maybe your spackling compound isn't quite as thick, and just write in your initials or your name, however you want to sign your piece. Starting to dry up a little bit down here, so and I'm going to put the year. Okay, I'm going to set this aside and let it dry. And as I said, you probably need to let these dry overnight. You don't want to heat it up, try to speed dry it, because it can cause your spackling to crack if it dries too fast. One thing I did want to also say, be sure when you lay these someplace to dry that they're laying on a flat surface. If you stand it up or it's not on something real stable, all the moisture in this spackling compound can cause your understructure to warp a little bit. So be sure to lay it on a flat surface until it's completely dry. Okay, after a day this board is dried, so I'm going to put just a real generous layer of, I'm using the DecoArt Americana multi-purpose sealer. You can also use the Traditions multi-surface sealer. So you just want to seal this spackling compound so it doesn't absorb more water later when you start applying paint. With all these grooves and everything, it takes quite a bit of sealer to get it all covered. Using this little middle part as my palette, so be sure to use just an old scruffy brush and work that down into the grooves and things. This larger board took about 2 days to dry. I'm trying to not let too much of this, I don't want to fill in all my texture, so I'm trying to, any place this is puddled, the sealer is puddled, I'm just trying to brush it out a little thinner so we maintain all of our relief. So I'm going to, now that this is all coated, I'm going to set it aside and let it dry.